for joining me. My name is Ari. I am a Partner Enablement Manager here at StorageCraft Asia Pacific for Australia and New Zealand. And today the topic, of course, is going to be disaster recovery made easy and affordable for MSPs. And in this demonstration, I'm going to be talking about specifically our recovery as a service, which is a sales strategy that we have for MSPs or managed service providers. Essentially, we all know like managed service providers charge out a monthly fee, do things by the month, and obviously there's a lot of advantages to that. And recovery as a service is a way of leveraging those monthly advantages to actually create a way of selling to end users that can be really effective and that can make a lot of money. It's a gradual process, but it's definitely something that can be used to bring more and more customers on board. And it is that you can make it that foot in the door to get you engaging with more customers, making more money from a lot of other solutions as well as StorageCraft with Shadow Protect. So without further ado, I will get into a PowerPoint presentation that I've set up. Of course, StorageCraft is able to do all these things. On the left, restore servers in minutes, files in seconds. We can do near zero impact migrations, enterprise DR. We have created quite a following since we started in 2006, and we do have local technical support as well, which does make us the #1 provider of disaster recovery solutions for physical and virtual environments. So recovery as a service. Essentially, this is for MSPs, people who are charging out by the month, ideally people who are on our MSP program, which we do have available for resellers. So the key questions to consider for this recovery as a service methodology is, would you be interested in 3 to 5 minute disaster recovery starting from $1.87 per day per server? Now realistically, in the world that we live in, I doubt you'd find many people who would not find having the capabilities of Shadow Protect for $1.87 a day per server not to be valuable. Nowadays you spend about $3 to $3.50 on a cup of coffee. The ability to be able to pay pretty much half of that for a server for a day, it's something that a lot of people can definitely factor in there, definitely agree to, especially considering it's based on operating expenditure. And of course, another question to consider is, would you be interested in testing the recoverability of your backups every night for, say, for example, $2 a day a server as well? And this is essentially the capability of another piece of software that we have, which is called Watchdog. And I guess the importance of asking the question about the testing of the backups is that, look at the first question, 3 to 5 minutes disaster recovery. It's a great value proposition, and we do have a very fantastic solution in Shadow Protect. It is a leading technology out there, has been for a while and still is. But the ability that, the whole testing thing coming from our Watchdog software, which I will also demonstrate at the end, the reason that's such a powerful question is that realistically, it's very difficult to actually test a server, to test the disaster recovery. So how many people have actually tested their backups and how often do they do it? Most people have not done it, if not rarely done it, and the results most likely would have been inconclusive for them. So having the ability to test the recoverability of their backups every night is also definitely another great value proposition, because it's very hard to actually do it any other way. And so in your opinion, do you think most people would be open to the idea of ultra-fast backup and disaster recovery for just $1.87 per day and backup testing for $2 a day? Because at the end of the day, basically, for one server, you've got $1.87 for the server, $2 for backup testing. Basically, you get a complete end-to-end solution for a cup of coffee a day. So of course, how this ties into our MSP program, of course, you'll be investing in licenses monthly. Your client will potentially most likely be paying for the licenses monthly as well. And breaking it up into days and putting it in a daily figure is certainly something that makes it very attractive. The $1.87 figure comes from charging out, say, for example, $50 for a server edition. So you're still making a decent margin off what your investment is as well. And if you throw in the Watchdog software for the extra $2 a day, then you're making a lot more profit on it. So pitching it this way is definitely a good idea, and we've found a very high success rate with it. So that there are 3 steps to our recovery as a service methodology. Now this is, of course, like I said, something that would definitely be good for MSPs. Another advantage of recovery as a service is it's great for the more hesitant customers as well. So if you've got a customer and let's say you're giving them, like, they want outright licenses, for example, but they're like, oh, I'm going to put it in next year's budget, and then the budget blows out, so I'm going to next year's budget, and getting the order across the line and getting them on board can be extremely difficult. And you never know, they might even just be apprehensive about taking on a new solution. If they are, then the first step of our recovery as a service strategy is the pilot. And the pilot is basically just 30 days with a single server, just to give them a proof of concept, to give them a test of how the solution is going to work. So for any hesitant customers or any orders that are kind of getting delayed, you can say, how about we give it a test? For $3.87 a day, we can do the recovery testing and we can do the backup and disaster recovery. It'll be a 30-day pilot, including initial infrastructure and a health check. I mean, that's something that you don't necessarily have to do, but it's ideal because it's basically like checking on their environment, analyzing for like a disaster recovery plan, which is becoming more and more important. Ideally, because it's only one server, the end user should have enough storage for this backups. And if you're looking at the pilot for a greater production phase, which is part 2, during the size of the pilot, we can actually just determine the size of a backup and disaster recovery appliance. So the BDR appliance is something that we do talk about a lot. Essentially, because StorageCraft Shadow Protect has such great disaster recovery capabilities, we always advise that people have a backup and disaster recovery appliance, which could be a decent NAS box, it could be a server running a Windows OS, it could be a SAM, depending on the size of the organization and how much they're looking to spend. So the backup and disaster recovery appliance essentially should have enough space for them, and the pilot allows you to calculate how much space they're going to need when they push out StorageCraft to more machines. And of course, another consideration would actually be, does it have a Windows OS? Because if it does, then you can do a virtual boot, or you can, to recover servers, you can do a quick mount to recover files, you can use Image Manager to consolidate, replicate, Head Start Restore for enterprise DR and zero impact server migrations. So the backup and disaster recovery appliance, of course, is very important there. And of course, this is basically just a proof of concept to demonstrate the value of the solution. So once you've been able to do that, at the end of the 30 days, ideally you'd like to do a recovery test, do a right-click and a virtual boot, and in 3 to 5 minutes spin it up, maybe even connect it into an isolated network just to show them how easy it is to get it set up. Once that's done and you can kind of prove the value of the solution, chances are they're going to want to move into production. Like I said, because the pilot often goes well and because we have confidence in our solution, you'll find that the production phase often comes about very quickly. So for the production phase, which is about 30 to 60 days after the pilot, you will be deploying Shadow Protect across all servers. You will want to be factoring in a backup and disaster recovery appliance, and of course recovery testing with Watchdog on as many servers as they wish, ideally all of them, and of course granular recovery for exchange if necessary. So the BDR appliance, you can sell it to them as like a server or a NAS box or however you design it, but if need be, I would also strongly recommend perhaps even renting a BDR appliance. You have a server on your site, you build it up specifically so that it's a perfect BDR appliance for a Shadow Protect implementation. And then say to the clients, we've got it perfectly set up for you for a certain amount of dollars a month, you can rent this for your backups. And then it's a gradual process, but it's a monthly fee on by month, so the operating expenditure is naturally very attractive. It can easily be worked into a budget, so definite benefits there. And of course, 90 days later, if they're looking into an off-site disaster recovery solution, which most organizations are, then you can push the end user towards the cloud, which includes replication into some form of cloud. It can be our cloud services, or it can be your cloud if you've already set up a data center. And essentially, you want to move them away from older tape backups, which are becoming archaic, in favor of a cloud solution. The beauty of this is that you can come up with your own agreements for like 1 or 2 or 3 years, but realistically with the MSP program, you can cancel any time, so there's no risk. Some other aspects of recovery as a service to consider. The pilot production and cloud phase, what it's going to do is it's going to take a gradual process to bring the end user on board. And that's what end users like. They don't like to be rushed into anything. Asking for an order straight off the bat can be very difficult, very arduous. But taking them through a gradual process and taking them on the journey, essentially, is definitely something that is important. Like I said previously, you can also use when the end user is not willing to get on board straight away. If you're apprehensive about picking up a new solution, demonstrate the value on one server for 30 days or 60 days if need be. And once they have the peace of mind, then you can start rolling it out a little bit further. Of course, for the backup and disaster recovery appliance, it's a chance for you to upsell to the end user. Always market the recovery appliance as a disaster recovery and business continuity machine. Because out there, it's all backup, backup, backup. We really want to focus more on the disaster recovery side and the business continuity side. Because if a business is down for too long, they're losing productivity, they're losing money, they're losing customers potentially, and recouping that loss can be a great deal. So business continuity is definitely something that you should strive for, and Shadow Protect certainly differentiates in that department. And you want to emphasize that business continuity is completely different from just taking backups and doing restores. And also for newer clients, if you sell into them with StorageCraft, of course, if you solve their backup and DR worries, then that'll provide you with the further upsell opportunities, because you will become their trusted advisor. So then perhaps you can become their trusted advisor for networking, for internet, antivirus, internet security, etc. There's so many different upsell opportunities. And if you can get your foot in the door with the recovery as a service method by going in lightly with a pilot, then production, then it's definitely a potential win. And of course, you can cancel with 30 days notice. So if you you can implement your own contract if you like and kind of wrap it into that, but you will ultimately have the flexibility to opt out within 30 days notice. So this is a brochure that we've devised on the recovery as a service as well. It takes you through pretty much what we've discussed today. That figure is excluding GST, which is why it's $1.67 and not $1.87. Since then we've changed it to $1.87. Proof of concept, production, offsite disaster recovery. It is a journey, as I like to emphasize, because you're taking them on a journey from 1, 2, 3, gradual steps, so it's nice and easy. And this is where I'm going to talk about Watchdog, and the reason for that is, like I said, backup and disaster recovery for $1.87 a day, and then disaster recovery testing for $2 a day, or however much you want to charge. And Watchdog software is something that is an ultimate solution. It can do the daily automated recovery testing. Not just that, it'll also monitor backups and replication jobs. You can manage and implement Shadow Protect and Image Manager jobs remotely. You can generate several types of reports. You can actually schedule the reports with the Watchdog Pro version. You can email notifications to yourself. It has fast refresh times, of course. You can refresh information up for every 15 minutes. And it's multi-tenanted to different end users, and reseller contacts can have different levels of access. So I'm quickly just going to show you the Watchdog solution. This is the MSP Portal as well. This is the licensing portal that we have available for our resellers. It's nice and easy to operate. Add an account, add a site, and generate a key. Any key can be deactivated. Any Shadow Protect Image Manager key can be deactivated at any time. So if you need to use one, you can use it. If someone wants out, or if someone leaves or moves away, you can easily deactivate it. So that's our MSP portal. I'm sure many of you would be familiar with that as you're currently on our MSP program. This is Watchdog. I'm going to log into it. And there's so many different features within Watchdog. Of course, I'm not going to be able to go through it all. So I'm just going to focus on the recovery testing. As you can see, we've got the one pane of glass and we're monitoring everything from here. I'm going to go to our organizations as a whole, click on StorageCraft. I'm going to pick our Exchange server, for example. So the Exchange server is arguably one of the most critical servers. And within the job history, what's happened here is, here we go. So this morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning, with no user involvement, because this has been set up automatically, what Watchdog has done is it's communicating to our Exchange server. It's at 4 o'clock, it tells the Exchange server you're going to be performing your verification. It's going to communicate with that server. It's going to perform a mount of the images. It's going to do a Microsoft check disk on those images to ensure that they're 99.99% recoverable. And once that's completed, if it has a favorable result, if it is recoverable, you'll get the ticks. If there is an issue, you'll get the crosses, and then you can investigate that issue further. And this will do that literally every night with no user involvement. And even though we're using continuous incrementals, we're up to incremental number 40,401. You can see here that even though we're so far through the backup process, because of the Shadow Protect consolidation and Image Manager consolidation, we're only doing it from about 20 images. So the recovery testing, it's not an arduous process. It's simply Watchdog communicating across the WAN, talking to the server. I want you to mount it up. It's mounting only about 20 images, so it's really not going to use up a lot of load at all. Perform a Microsoft check disk on those images. If everything goes well, you get the ticks, and you will know that the images are basically recoverable. So, I mean, in the past, I mean, think about recovery testing from backups from a tape. I mean, imagine how, I mean, it would take you a whole weekend, and even then you might not even get through it. It might even flow through to the week. And it's the same with other technologies. I mean, any other product that's out there, how do you do a recovery test? You do a full restore, how long is that going to take you? Having the ability to just have Watchdog automatically every single day or night, go in there, do the check, just give you the ticks. That's a recovery test right there. We know that that image can be recovered and that server can be restored from those images. I would say that almost every end user would easily invest in that. It's something that gives you great peace of mind. It can be done very easily, very quickly. So getting Watchdog, I mean, as a reseller, you'll pay for a subscription of Watchdog. It's a one-off fee for Watchdog. And then every month, every client you bring on board, tell them about it, wrap it into their solution, say, would you like us to test your backups every day for this much? Chances are they're going to say yes. You start charging them for it. Before you know, you've made a lot of money off Watchdog. On top of the money you're making off the MSP program as well, using the recovery as a service methodology. So pretty much just to sum everything up before I let you guys go is basically that recovery as a service, it's a methodology. We're taking the end user on a journey. The questions to consider are, would you be interested in 3 to 5 minutes after recovery, starting from $1.87 a day? And of course, would you be interested in testing the recoverability of your backups? Who's going to say no to, for a cup of coffee a day, the ability to perform backups, the ability to recover in 3 to 5 minutes, the ability to restore to similar or dissimilar hardware in any environment, and the ability to actually test your backups every day? That's for a cup of coffee a day per server. We can do all of that for the end user. It's a great value proposition. So yeah, just keep it in mind. And if you need any further information about the recovery as a service methodology, we do have data sheets on it. Just get in touch with your account manager or give us a call on the sales line on 028061 4420. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for your time, and I certainly hope you got a lot out of this WebEx.